You talking to me? You talking to me?
Taxi Driver, a quintessential Literally Me movie, is one of the most relatable films of all time. The audience goes on a ride with Travis Bickle, a former Marine turned taxi driver who works his insomnia and loneliness away through the dimly lit, debauchery-ridden streets of New York in the 1970s. The longevity of Taxi Driver's cultural stamp on society speaks to how strong of a personal connection the movie creates with the viewer. It's not hard for one to feel as though Travis is talking to me. The movie serves in many ways as a spotted mirror for much of our own lives. Today, we'll take a closer look at this and answer the question, why is Taxi Driver literally me? Travis lives in isolation. At the introduction, Travis mentions that he spends his nights alone riding the subway around to cope with insomnia. He gets work as a taxi driver merely to continue living this vagabond lifestyle for a measly amount of money in return. Aside from brief meetups with other lonely taxi drivers, Travis is left virtually on his own. Likewise, Travis is never stationary. Whether it be his nighttime subway rides or driving others around, Travis is always in transit and never finds an anchor of stability. Epitomizing the prototypical lonely young man, Travis's lifestyle serves as a surface-level reflection of a much deeper-seated issue, a lack of purpose and direction.
All my life needed was a sense of someplace to go.
There is no North Star guiding Travis. Constantly on the search for some semblance of meaning to his existence, Travis's transience symbolizes his inability to find his true self. He's always in search of it. The identity crisis shackles Travis into a purgatory of loneliness. Without the ability to form a relationship with his own self, Travis is left without the ability to form a relationship with anyone else. Likewise, without a sense of confidence or concreteness in his identity, Travis retreats into his lonely shell as a psychological defense mechanism. Analyzing this further, Carl Jung writes that loneliness does not come from having no people about one, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important to oneself. Although Travis is always in contact and in the vicinity of other people, he falls prey to loneliness as he does not have any grounding of purpose or importance in his life to levy on others. This in turn positions him as an outcast in society devoid of any shared virtues and meaning he can form social relationships over. Instead of confronting this issue, however, Travis shields himself via the defenses of isolation. Taxi Driver's ability to visually depict loneliness in such a relatable and finely detailed manner explains a large part of its literally me appeal. Many of you watching this can relate to the sleepless and anxious nights by yourself and the lack of direction we're left to deal with in life. We find ourselves struggling to identify a purpose for our existence and remain in constant search, aka in constant transit, moving from job to job, relationship to relationship, and home to home, all in the pursuit of some meaning and direction. Unfortunately, we like Travis retreat into our shells of loneliness instead of recognizing and confronting the notion that we must find an individualized sense of purpose and character. Ironically, Travis lives in one of the most densely populated metropolitan areas of the world, yet struggles to make human connection. That same irony is present within our world today. Even with thousands of people within reach through a press of a button on a smartphone, the average person has less friends now than ever recorded before in human history. There's a crisis of loneliness as people now more than ever struggle to make human-to-human connections, opting instead for simulated interactions through the medium of a screen. Humans are social creatures who often find a sense of belonging in our lives through social community. However, the advent of the age of loneliness has stripped us of a communal sentiment, leading many of us down a life of lonely transience, much like Travis. Travis drowns his pain and lonely anguish away through constant sedation. He's always drinking, taking drugs, or watching porn to momentarily escape from his dreary existence. A stroke of genius on the part of Martin Scorsese, Taxi Driver's director, is the dreamlike visual scheme of the movie. Everything from the trance-like color grade of the movie to the haziness of the visuals serves to amplify the fact that Travis sort of exists in the transient middle ground of reality and his own sedated world.
He's a prophet and a pusher, partly truth, partly fiction. Walking contradiction.
Travis struggles with finding an identity by which he can ground himself to the real world, turning him into a walking contradiction. With no set of individual values and virtues, Travis rotates between contradictory and vacuous ideals. He claims to despise the low-life debauchery of New York, yet sedates himself in the same porno theaters he speaks out against. He emphasizes the importance of a healthy diet, yet sedates himself with breakfast doused in liquor. Travis may believe in a healthy diet or stand against the vile nature of New York, but he does not have the power or strength to uphold his beliefs and stick to those ideals. His constant sedation has left him too weak to be his true self. In the words of Nietzsche, the wolf has become a sheep. We, like Travis, exist in a sedated world of partly truth and partly fiction. We seek relief from our loneliness and existential pain through a simulated reality of video games, alcohol, and pornography. Ultimately, these mediums sedate us with a slight semblance of relief and satisfaction, while in turn killing our desires and ability to form a real-life human connection. We retreat into gamer communities posing behind anonymous streamer names and avatars that serve as faces to our relationships. We drink away weekend nights as a solace from our everyday grief. We We live out our lustful dreams through binge-watching reality shows or provocative OnlyFans streams role-playing within our imagination. The wolf pack in many parts of our world has become a sheep herd. Beyond just Travis, the societal implications of this sedative culture are brilliantly portrayed in Taxi Driver. It appears Travis is caught in a maze of metaphorical tranquilizers.
Can't sleep nights. There's porn out there just for that.
Travis yearns for a relief from his insomnia and loneliness without mindless hedonistic indulgence. However, everyone he seeks help from prescribes him the same sedatives he wishes to do without. Furthermore, on his nightly rides through the city, Travis notices how it's not just him but everyone around him who are sedating away their existential pain through drinking, drugs, and prostitutes. The greater society is merely a grand reflection of the internal dilemma and contradiction Travis faces.
Get drunk, you can't do anything.
I don't know, that's about the dumbest thing I ever heard.
What really humanizes Travis in this moment is his recognition that the sedative culture is not the answer to his problems. He rejects it, however, without any other alternative presented to him, he's stuck with it. We're no different. We're living through one of the largest opioid crises ever, with 44 people dying each day from prescription and narcotics overdoses in 2020. Big pharma and the medical industry seek to profit from and remain complicit in this culture as now more than ever, overprescription and use remain rampant. Similarly, large tech companies such as Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram spend hundreds of millions of dollars each year developing precise algorithms to hijack young minds into endless consumption of social media. For many of us, like Travis, we don't have an alternative to the sedatives thrust upon us. We, like Travis, are stuck in the labyrinth. Through all the misery and sedation, there's one saving grace for Travis: Betsy. He longs for connection, and the ultimate form of intimacy in his eyes would be through a deep personal bond with someone as beautiful and elegant as her. Travis carefully watches over her until he musters up the courage to ask her out, signaling the potential for change in his life.
They cannot touch her.
Travis's longing for Betsy mirrors the concept of the divine feminine. Existing in many cultures and explored in the writings of Jung, the divine feminine elicits the notion of women holding the qualities of purity, nurturement, and love, which Travis lacks in his life. The divine feminine, as Travis sees in Betsy, holds the ability to remedy his existential pain and provide him a motive and direction in life via the pursuit of her love and affection. Unfortunately, things go well until Travis takes her to a porno theater. Betsy is appalled by this and immediately breaks her ties to Travis, taking him once again back into his shell of isolation and misery. The lowlife is all Travis has, and so he knows of nothing else but to take Betsy on a date to a porn show. He has become institutionalized in and desensitized to the vile unholiness of the world. Betsy's rejection causes him to snap, and he ultimately confronts her, telling her she's in hell and just like the rest of them. This represents Freud's concept of the Madonna whore complex. Freud theorized that for men who struggle with intimacy and connection, they come to dichotomize women as either goddesses out of their reach or whores beneath their level. Betsy at first is seen as this angelic, blonde-haired, blue-eyed woman who Travis can only admire from afar. Her rejection thus comes to symbolize that he is not worthy of the divine feminine, triggering a defense mechanism by his ego to denigrate her to the level of a whore, who he says is just like the rest of the prostitutes and hookers he sees nightly. Rather than accepting rejection, his ego lashes out and plots to kill Palantine, Betsy's North Star. This pivotal twist of the movie makes Taxi Driver uniquely stand out as a literally me movie. Up until this point, the audience is lured into a strong feeling of relatability to Travis from a place of empathy as we connect with his struggles of loneliness in a world of vile chaos. Suddenly, we see him turn into an agent of evil, and this leads us to think, are we really like Travis? Or rather, are we really like Travis? Can we possess the same devilish thoughts and motives if we hit rock bottom as well? By a stroke of luck, however, his plans to execute the devil's work and kill Palantine fails. He then seeks to redeem himself not through crime, but through nobility, saving Iris the prostitute. Iris represents the classic young damsel in distress whom Travis, the knight in shining armor, comes to save. Furthermore, as Betsy has now been denigrated to the level of a whore, Travis now tries to redeem his dreary existence by restoring Iris, a literal whore, to a Madonna. After rejection from the divine Betsy, he comes to accept that his life may not have a purpose and direction outside of the low-life scum he sees him as. The only choice then is to go out on his own terms via a solo suicide mission into a pimp-ridden brothel in a valiant effort to save Iris and restore her divinity. The universality of these archetypes explains how we see so much of ourselves in Taxi Driver. The damsel in distress or the white knight complex extend beyond the boundaries of culture as they speak to common tropes humans routinely face to varying degrees. From a mother protecting her daughter to a man protecting his wife, we feel connected to the nobility of putting ourselves at risk for the safety of those that we care for. As Martin Luther King said, if a man has not found something worth dying for, he's not fit to live. He's speaking to the notion that our purpose can only make us feel complete when it is deemed higher than the value of life itself. We see this with firefighters running into burning buildings to save complete strangers, or cops running into schools to save children from a mass shooting. The highest act of not only bravery, but fulfillment for many comes from the willingness to put themselves on the line in the service of others. The last stage of Travis's metamorphosis shows him dedicate his life in the service of Iris as a final act of purpose and honor. Miraculously, Travis saves Iris and seems to survive the wounds he sustained. Or does he? Maybe the ending is just his dying dream. Taxi Driver presents a stark mirror image to the underbelly of our lives. Travis Bickle's quiet desperation of loneliness and isolation strike a resounding chord with our own lives. His quest for some sense of belonging and meaning in a world of directionless sedation resonates all too well with us. We see Travis's world as no different from our world. We see Travis's struggle as no different from ours. We see Travis as a raw, real, and authentic reflection of ourselves. From all this, it's not hard to see why we think Travis Bickle is literally me.